Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Jackson number 20160. Might be known as a 20-1060. Let's take a closer look at it. This is a end load type floor mount bottom pivot, and we'll give you all of the pieces to replace a floor mounted pivot assembly. This is an end load, what they call a P-type floor mounted pivot. So this is known as a P-type mount, even though I don't see that the manufacturer really calls it that from their description any longer. What is important to know about this is that, first of all, this is an end-type mount, meaning that when you mount the door onto the floor portion, that you load it from the end of the door versus a side mount, which is not unheard of, but end load mounts are very common. And it matters because you need to get the arm, which is mounted to the bottom underside of the door, onto the floor portion. And end load versus side load is what approach the door makes to getting these two pieces to mate together. That's an end load. That would be a side load. You can see how a side load would be a different application than an end load because of that reason. The question is when would you use them? Well, imagine if you had the same door that you're hanging this on, which is probably aluminum storefront. Well, imagine if that was wood. You really wouldn't channel out the edge of a wood door and just leave the very thin, fragile veneer exposed. You would side mount that, and then there would be generally a decorative metal plate that would attach over the access to get that bottom arm over the bottom spindle when you then lock them together, and then you close off the face of the preparation. So this is an end load, this is called, but it's used for installations where you have a 1 9/16 deep bottom rail. Okay, so if you have a door application where you've got a 1 9/16 inverted bottom channel, you're very likely going to be looking at the 21060 mount. So this is going to be comprised of the door portion, and this is going to be rated for doors up to 125 pounds, which would be typical for aluminum storefront. Okay, this is going to be comprised of the floor portion, which is this piece of, I believe it's stainless. Sure looks like stainless. Yeah, the magnet says it's non-ferrous, and the fact that it looks like stainless, I'm going to go with that. You'll get the spindle stud, or the bottom stud, or spindle that will go onto the thread, onto the floor plate that's going to mount down below. And if you have a very thin box wrench, you'll be able to adjust the height of that. And then, of course, your installation is going to clip and spring in like that. And that's what that spring tab there is for, to lock that all in place. And that is what your finished installation is going to look like. Okay. A couple of screws with star washers are going to be included. And that's going to be to get the bottom arm mounted to the door itself. No slotted holes on this one. Sometimes you'll see a slotted hole for adjusting that. I might recommend that you elongate that hole. If you want to have a small amount of lateral adjustment, you can then use the permanent hole to get it fixed without anything moving. Okay. Now let's take a look at the balance of the extended description information. You're also going to have, looking at the extended description information, a 3/16 height adjustment. Okay. Although I'm seeing that it's stated for 175 pound door capacity, the manufacturer's data says 125 pounds. The data we have is probably from the old, certainly from the old Jackson published material, where the current material is coming out of the C.R. Laurence catalog. Sierra Lawrence now being the company that owns Jackson, or that name. Let's take some dimensional properties. Overall length of the arm, about 5 5/8. Overall width, down over here, about 1 3/8. Okay. Overall height, about 1 3/16 inches. Now your floor plate. Let's back up. Let's take a dimension of where those holes are located in relationship to the overall length for the mounting. See, about 1 inch on that first hole, over to about 2 1/4 or so. Okay. Now the plate the end that would generally go into the opening. Let's do it from the jam portion. About 3/4 inch. Oh, pardon me, 1/2 inch to the first hole, out to about 3 7/8 to the second hole. Overall length 4 3/4. 1.5 inch overall width. Interestingly enough, there are no fasteners for the floor plate included with this at all. Ball bearing construction inside of here, and again, it's adjustable. There is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Jackson products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog where you can review all of the old style Jackson products, meaning the original or a pre-C.R. Lawrence catalog is there, is what I'm driving at. Very handy document because I have noticed that the part numbers have changed. Some items that are no longer available, seemingly from C.R. Lawrence, you can locate in the catalog, and what I end up doing is occasionally I discover that the manufacturer states something's not available. But if I'm able to refer to the old documentation, the older catalog, I can convert to a new part number, because while the absolute majority of everyone at Sierra Lawrence is exceptional when it comes to customer service, it does at times help to be able to tell them, here's the Jackson one, here's the catalog, can you help me convert it? And if they can't, you can pull up the new catalog and likely do it yourself. Any questions on the Jackson 20 1060 P mount end load? And obviously the P is going to stand for Pittsburgh doors, or any other Sierra Lawrence or Jackson product. Please feel free to reach out to us, and thank you.